questions and comments already here. So cool. I wonder if this is going to work. I'm trying out some new software. Let's see. That's not working. I want to try out new chat software. We'll see if we can get it to go. But I will say this. I just posted a video, and let me know if you caught the let me know in the comments of the video that I just posted after the live stream if you picked up what I was putting down. If you noticed what it was that some of you who've been around for a while will have noticed, and others that have not may not. In any case, hope you're having a great day. What day is it today? Oh, it's the 19th, and we already covered that it's Friday, but it's the 19th all day. Tim Shallow being the first person in the chat this morning. Good morning to you, and greetings and salutations from Akela Draconis. We've got Michael says, hi, TikTok gave me a community guidelines violation for calling someone a character in a video game clip, not even real. What? Really? Wow. Okay. Talking about community guidelines violations, we, a while ago, were flagged during our live streams for not having original content. We. Well, anyway, I was really shocked. I was amazed. It could have been a glitch. Maybe they thought we were rebroadcasting somebody else's really professional-looking channel. Well, I took it as a compliment in the end, but we couldn't figure out what was the reason. So sometimes things happen just because they happen, not because they're supposed to happen. Harry is the very first person who's in the TikTok stream, says, hey, nice to see you. And happy Friday to Emma, who just popped into the live. Hey, if you're in the live, please throw some likes our way so it helps promote. And I totally planned on logging into the live stream myself from my phone, my personal phone, because I wanted to see what was it all going, making sure it was going. Oh, I see those likes coming in. I'm tapping my own screen. Isn't that terrible? I'm helping to promote the channel myself. Yeah, please help by tapping. Helps the channel get noticed by TikTok, shares it with more people, which, yes, adds more people to the lineup of questions. So I get that it can be counterproductive if you're waiting to get your questions answered. But it is an awesome thing to help others find cool info. What am I looking for here? I'm looking for Restream. That's what I want to do. Can I find it? There we go. Restream. I wonder if this is going to work. Launching. All right. We have. It is working. Holy moly. So cool. I have an app on my Mac that is, well, we'll see if this all works. So far, I'm only seeing, I'm seeing TikTok. Harry's message popped in. Did I see? Okay, we're working it out. We're going to see if this is working. Oh, my goodness. Harry's coming to Toronto. Let me see if I can type here. Hey there, testing. Probably take off caps lock. Okay. Hey, it worked. All right. I love it when things actually work. Technology has not always cooperated with us, but I have hope that today will work out well. The stream seems to be coming through on the main window, which is awesome. All right. Let's move on to the next thing here. Yogi quote we'll save for later. Corey Wilkins is in here with a happy Friday. I hope everyone had what is this, having a great start? Oh, I don't want to block you. I want to put you on screen. There we go. Happy Friday. I hope everyone is having a great start to the best day of the week. It is the best day of the week. Truly, truly. My days started off really, really well. I woke up all through the night, so excited to come in and do today's show. I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, went to the washroom to go brush my teeth and get ready, and I'm like, what time is it? Hit my watch, and it's 1 a.m. I was a little ahead of schedule, so I went back to bed. But anyway, not every morning launches properly. Morning, everyone, and that's a message from Tian. And then we got a dad joke for later from Akela. We'll save that for later. But apparently Corey likes the Yogi quote. Do we do the Yogi quote now, since it's not Yogi Bear, right? We're talking about Yogi Berra? Okay. It's late early out here, or it gets late early out here. I should read all the words that are it gets late early out here. Okay. Every night it gets late early for me. I can't, I think I'm getting old. If I sit down on the couch, it's so comfy, I just sink in, and then I fall asleep. Something my father-in-law used to say was, I watch TV for 15 minutes, and for the rest of the night, the TV watches me. Brandon says, good morning, Sean. I have to catch a flight, but wanted to jump on and say hi. I hope you and everyone in the chat has an awesome and safe weekend. I assumed great was where he was going. Never assume, right? Okay. Harry says we addressed the Harry comment earlier. Hey, nice to see you. It's nice to see you too. Emma officially put you on the screen because we can. All right. Chase says, I know it's a fail to proceed for a green light, charge for it. I know there's a fail to proceed charge for a green light. It's fail to proceed when directed, is that what you mean, or proceed prior to green? What would you charge for a roundabout if someone just didn't go? So they come to a roundabout and stop, interfere with traffic? I mean, they can't just stop and block the road. Okay. Spam is the only canned thing on the channel. Absolutely. Akela gave this to me at the Honda Indy, and it lives on my desk just so we can have a visual when we reference it. Okay, so Harry, I mentioned this earlier. They say, I'm coming to Toronto, don't know what to do. What do you mean? Like, don't know what to go do and see? It's an amazing city. There's lots of things to do, lots of tourism here, things to see and do. Depends what you're into. But we can talk about Toronto tourism opportunities, I guess. So Chase says, I remember that Demon Red Tint video. I also remember they posted a video removing it after you went viral. So, yeah, I re-edited the video that I had already posted because it was shot like the video wasn't great. At least my video wasn't great. It was before we had this wonderful studio. So I redid it. Okay, Tracy202 says, good morning from Collingwood, Ontario. I can only imagine how amazing Collingwood must look right now. Do you have snow up there? What's it look like? I would say send pictures, but it doesn't work for that. Can't do that. I'm curious if this works. I'm going to try putting, apparently I can put a chatbot command in here. Hey, it works. And if it works really, really well, every 5 minutes, that please start your questions with a Q will pop up. If it works the way I think I programmed it to. We're trying to develop new stuff and things here. It's very exciting when you find out features that have probably been there for months and I just didn't know. So today is the official I pressed a button day. So any tips for UK drivers now living over here? Remember what side of the road you're on. I was actually talking to someone. I don't know if it was, if you could be the someone I was talking to about driving on the wrong side of the road, and when someone travels regularly, how to remind themselves which side of the road to be on. I would think that the steering wheel being on the left or the right-hand side is a big enough hint. Different with motorcycles, and I think that's what I was talking to a chap about a couple days ago, because I remember a story of a motorcycle event that I had gone to. There was a chap who was coming in from Australia. He'd shipped his Honda Goldwing over from Australia and had a great time riding through the Adirondacks. And then on the last day of the event, he pulled out into the wrong side and was killed. So that's a thing, knowing what side to be on. But aside from the obvious, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know, other than we have some pretty wild and crazy drivers out here. Having been to the UK, I was there in last May, amazing drivers. People just do the right thing. And I was really, really impressed. I'm less impressed when I'm here, sadly. The vast majority, maybe that's not fair. A good percentage of drivers are really people who shouldn't be driving anymore. And that's because they're so aggressive and aggressive and selfish. It's a thing. We have an entitlement problem. I think everywhere has one, but we really have one, especially when I'm driving to work at 5 a.m, because I'm being passed like I'm not even moving, which means nobody is taking into consideration the fact that they're traveling 30 to 50 kilometers over the posted limit. Just saying. Okay. They said, obviously, driving on the other side is a given. Yes. Although, you'd think so. But all right. On highway, if someone stops suddenly and behind vehicle hit it, whose fault? You need to follow at a distance that you can respond to changes up ahead. That said, if the person up front did it with intention of just causing a collision, that could be stunt driving, that could be careless, dangerous. Actually, dangerous. I would go dangerous criminal. I'd probably arrest them. But here's the problem. It could have been a flock of seagulls that dove in front of them and they were trying to avoid it, or there was something that happened and they say, whoopsie. You need to have dash cam video to really help your case, because otherwise they say the car in front of them stops. They stop to avoid it, and then you're following too close. So every situation is going to be different, but if it's malicious, if there's intent, if they cut you off and slam on the brakes, if they are just slamming on the brakes because you're having a road rage incident, they would definitely hold some responsibility, if not the majority, if not face criminal charges. Okay. And yes, I don't know who Harry is. I kept on referencing them because they were in the comment section. They were the first person in the TikTok chat. Okay. Chase says, I love that I can see TikTok comments in the YouTube chat now that I know how far in the queue I am. Yes, so that's a feature. I turned on a relay feature that, again, I didn't know existed, and now every comment made on every other platform should be rebroadcast onto every other platform. That supports receiving those. So TikTok won't see YouTube, but YouTube will see TikTok, and so on. Is lane splitting legal? No, it's not. In Canada, if you are driving in between two vehicles that are properly in their lane, that's careless driving, stunt driving, or even criminal dangerous driving. And I'm a motorcycle guy. I appreciate why a motorcycle rider might want to split the lane. Now, why are there three options? Because it depends on what the officer is observing. If I see you driving through traffic and it's a reasonable speed, it's still careless. If I see you driving and it's much faster or you're zigzagging through traffic, that could be stunt. Could be careless, could be stunt, depends. Now, where would dangerous come in? Where would the handcuffs come in? That's a criminal charge because you're putting lives immediately at risk. That could be at high speed. You're really, the differential is so high, combined with zigzag and all around. You're putting lives at risk immediately. This is absolutely dangerous, and that's where I'm going to, go to the criminal level. At the end of the day, don't do it. Now, I was watching a video with my kids last night on Instagram, and they said, "Oh, it's Chips. It was I think it was California Highway Patrol had pulled over a rider who had been lane splitting, and not only were they lane splitting between lanes, they were also riding the shoulder. They were all over the road apparently, and it was a great video. And that person got an education, but not every state, even that allows lane splitting, would allow being on the shoulder. Okay. Someone says they got robbed on Facebook Marketplace for their phone. What can police do to help? You should make a police report. If you were robbed, where it's robbery is a specific thing. You may have sold something, they have given you counterfeit bills. That's a different offense. In any case, make a police report. Not here. You go to the police station or call police for they have something called ARU. They make people to do it over the phone. James says, bro, you literally taught my entire driver's ed with your TikToks. No way. That's awesome. I've heard that many driving schools use the content that we create, so love hearing feedback when those who attended those classes come see us in the wild. Matthew Amos says, hey, Sean, hello back. We got Corey Wilkins with a question. Making a U-turn. Oh, we just have to scroll back. Scrolling back. Where'd it go? See, they were too quick. Here we go. When making a left turn onto multiple lane road, can you be ticketed for turning into a lane other than the far left one? You need to move into the closest lane that you are supposed to be in. Why? Because that's the rules, and it's an improper turn if you don't. Do you know what I just realized? Yeah, I just realized that I didn't talk about Vision Zero Enforcement Team or any of my regular intro because I was so excited about the new technology. Let me quickly do that. Vision Zero is a team of dedicated officers who go after the Big Four. Here's the Big Four. The Big Four are it's simple. It's speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, impaired driving. Those are the offenses. They're behaviors that drivers engage in by choice. No one forces them to do it. And you know what? It's dangerous. They lead to serious injury and death on our roads, and we want to stop it. So how do we get people to stop? We give them education by way of ticket. Education through enforcement, we like to call it. Now, we do the education all the time here, but if it doesn't sink in online or they didn't get the message, didn't subscribe, well, it's a problem. And they need to be, reminded out on the road. So they go out and spend time. Today, they're spending time in 23 Division and 33 Division. Those are the neighborhoods of Rexdale, Jamestown, Martin Grove, Parkwoods, Donalda, Bayview Village, York Mills, neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. And if you lived there, I'm sure you'd want to be protected by the enhanced enforcement. Now, Vision Zero is not the only thing happening. It's not just, first of all, it's not just about enforcement. It's about education. And that's education and enforcement is mainly a police function. But then there's also engineering and design of roadways. And that's a city thing where Vision Zero is a concept of reducing serious injury and death to zero. Zero, Vision Zero, the vision we're looking, our goal is zero. Makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, we'll just talk about it again tomorrow or Monday, I should say. It'll make sense then. If you don't want to meet one of our officers, don't break the law. Now, they're not the only officers enforcing Highway Traffic Act offenses. Any police officer in the city of Toronto can issue a ticket to you. In fact, we can issue tickets in OPP territory too. If we see you doing something, expect to be corrected. And really, there's no good reason to do any of these things. Like, speeding is silly. Just do the speed limit. Leave earlier. Give yourself more time, especially in the weather. You know, we had a collision that is being investigated now because it took place last night on the Gardner Expressway, where speed was a factor. People driving quickly. You know, details of what actually happened will come out as the investigation, is completed, and eventually we'll make statements about it. But at the end of the day, if you're going fast on a good dry summer day, that's still wrong. You got to have rocks in your head to speed on super cold days when rubber doesn't work the way you think rubber works. You just don't have the ability to stay on the road at high speed, not ridiculous high speed. And nobody should be speeding. So moving on. We got, so first of all, we have Paul, who says good morning, waving a hand. I like how it translates emojis into the actual action, because it apparently doesn't allow emojis. And my buddy Christopher Luttrell, who is way over in Washington State, who says good morning, Sean. Good morning, brother. Let's see here. We have Ahem, who says, will I have to do less on the G2 test because I'm taking it during the winter and snowy conditions? It is still, as far as I know, a reduced test. I think they've taken away the duplication that was also in the G1, to the G1 to G2 versus the G2 to G. I don't know which one you're talking about. But if you have your G1 and you're going for your G2 versus your G test, the G test is reduced. I don't think they're reducing the G1 to G2 test because of the weather. No, I don't think so. That said, I don't know, so they can do what they want. That's them. I love this. It's so cool. Please start your questions with a Q, so we can easily identify it as a question rather than general chat conversation. There's so much wonderful chat amongst yourselves that happens, and the Q just makes it easier for us to identify. Okay. Hey, officer, I plan on modifying my exhaust. What's legal, what's not? Here's an interesting thing. If it interferes with the emissions standards, it's against the law. $615 ticket. I just found out about this because of a rabbit hole I went down talking to Chase, one of our viewers, regular viewer and contributor. We were talking about EPA offenses a couple years ago, 2020, more than a couple now. The EPA got folded into the HTA, and there's a blanket charge where if you make modifications that change the emissions from stock, it could cause or make you eligible for this charge. Now, what else can I tell you about it? If you're making it noisy, it's against the law. Now, you can get one that's freer breathing, maybe a little louder, but if it's an obnoxious noise maker, once you're finished with it, expect to be charged. You can be charged for anything from improper muffler, no muffler, unnecessary noise, a combination of two of those. Yeah. Jeremy says, good morning from Muskoka. I'm jealous. Muskoka's beautiful. Do they still have that nutty chocolatier in Muskoka? Let's see here. Snow in Vancouver is crazy. I can only imagine. I haven't looked at any weather reports. Sandra says hi. And Christopher says we are snowed in Washington State. Only 6 inches, but it came fast. No school. It's a PA day for many people in Toronto today. Our kids staying home. No school. No snow, but no school. And there's my every 5-minute message. So cool. I'm really impressed with this. I'll be impressed with it all day, and then I probably won't talk about it again. Okay. Chase says, I think I know. No. I think now that we're in New Year, it's a good time to remind people to renew their plates and make note of when their expiry is. Fantastic idea. So here's something that Ontario did differently, and you may or may not be aware of it, is that you don't have to renew your license plates and pay for it. Wait, let me rephrase. You have to renew your license plates every 1 or 2 years, depending on what you've selected in the renewal system, but you no longer need to pay. As long as you have paid up all your fines, you'll be eligible to renew. You update your insurance information, your mileage, and so on. Clickety-click, and it's done. Lickety-split. So it's a Barbara Papa thing. Wasn't that what they said all the time in the cart? Anyway, does anyone know what Barbara Papa is? So let's go back. If you go to TrafficCop.ca, you can find a link there that allows you to renew your license plates free for most motor vehicles. Like trucks and snowmobiles can't do it with this, but anyway, some trucks, bigger trucks, commercial trucks. But there's also a link there that allows you to set up reminders. You can have the Ontario government text you, email you, or phone you, or all three of those things, to tell you when to renew your driver's license, your health card, and your license plates. So there's no reason to get caught with your plates down or expired. If you were to continue driving with expired plates, $110 fine here. It is a larger fine if you're into other provinces like, Quebec, who charge you like $500, I think, if your plates are expired. Basharat Ali says, Sir Sean, we are inaugurating a new driving license center. You're invited as a guest. Please apply for leave and come. This is Basharat Ali, Traffic Services, Punjab, Pakistan. I would love to come visit and be there. I don't know if my chief here or my chief at home would allow me to go, but I'd really like to come. Good food and a celebration of a new traffic division, that would be the best thing ever. Send me the details. Seriously, if I can get authorized, I would come. And hopefully the boss would pay. But just saying. Airfare is expensive now. Okay. Can I drive my sled on the road, licensed and insured? Depends on where you are. I'm sure that in some jurisdictions they would allow it. I used to go up to Keswick all the time. I'd see them on the road. I don't know if it was legal or not there, but it happened. It is not legal in the city of Toronto, so very dependent on what the rules and regulations are for where you are. I'm not the sled guy. We're talking sled being snowmobiles. I don't know anything about those. How many driver's licenses do you need in Toronto? What do you mean? You only get one driver's license. You either have one or you don't. You need an Ontario license if you live here. If you're visiting from somewhere else, you have a foreign license because you live there and you're visiting here. And most of the time, we accept foreign licenses. If you want more information about visiting Ontario, visiting any province in the country of Canada, go to TrafficCop.ca. At the bottom, there are useful links, and one of those links is all about visiting or being a newcomer here with information about converting your license or just what the rules are. Some places, your license won't be accepted, and sometimes, depending on where you're from, you may require an international driving permit, which is a translation card, allows us to understand what your license says, because sometimes it's not in English, and we need to know the correct information. And so it's a clue. It's a translation card. Okay. Michael says, driver sit in left. What is this? Driver sit in left of vehicle, right of center on highway. Okay. Highway head. Yes, we found out that highway head is what the signal is called. Okay, which is the name of them by the MTO, is far on one side. Okay. I'm taking that down. We're moving on because I don't know where we're going with it. It is factual information. Michael, by the way, knows way too much stuff about driving. It's cool. Let's see here. Where'd it go? Sliding back. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Any big plans for the weekends? That's what I want to know. You doing anything special? Also, if you're from outside of the GTA, or even if you're in the GTA, where are you from? Tell me in the comments. As I scroll through and need to buy time while I'm looking for comments that are not yet. How much is a ticket for tobogganing on a restricted hill? I haven't a no. I haven't a no. I haven't an idea. I've not really been reading about tobogganing. I've seen the headlines that it's not permitted. I don't know what the deal is with that, but I don't know what the rules are. Sorry, I'll have to try and find out for next week. Emily wants to know if snow socks are legal. So I did not Google them yesterday after the show because I got into all sorts of other things. That took up my time, but the idea was that we were going to look at them and look into it. My understanding from everyone who has sent me stuff post-show is that they are temporary fixes that basically disintegrate when you start driving on the road with them. The goal of those is to get you out of a sticky situation, or get you sticky so you can get out of a stuck situation. I'm sure they're legal for the purposes of getting you traction, and then they should be removed before you're on the road. They would not be intended for the road, regardless of the fact that I have not actually looked that up. Matthew has 3 pet pigs, or really likes pigs, or I don't know what Mike. I said, did I say Michael? It was Matthew. I don't know. Some people like pigs. What can I say? Or they try and be offensive, but it doesn't work. Let's see here. Alex May is talking to somebody else. Michael L. says, not advice. So this goes to cell phones, distracted driving. The only time that you're allowed to use a cellular device, communication device, outside of the prescribed mounted on speakerphone type thing, if you actually have to hold it to your hand or operate it to dial manually, is if you're calling 911. So he's asking if you were to pull out your call after being pulled over and pretend there was a drunk driver, how would police prove otherwise? Well, we know because we're 911. We'd know what time you started the call. And if it was post when we activated the lights, which is time-stamped as well, we'd figure out or at least have the evidence to support the fact that you were not telling the truth. Yeah, call logs and all those things support those things too. It's just amazing. Data and evidence and stuff. Okay, if I'm alone in an empty parking lot in the winter at 3 a.m., am I allowed to spin my car? No. Spinning your car, donuts, drifting, stunt driving on private property is still stunt driving. As of September 12, 2021, I think it was. I confused whether it was 2020 or 2021. Regardless, it became illegal to do that on private property. James would like to know what my favorite car is. That is a tough one. I don't really have a favorite car. I keep saying the Hummer H1, whether it be military or the Schwarzenegger version where he basically pimped up a military version, the first one, before they were commercially available. I've driven them. I think they're awesome. They're sluggish and not comfy per se, but I think they're so cool. I wouldn't mind one with a giant, slant back on the back and a gun turret on top. I think they're just funky toys. Okay. Can you put dark tint on top of your windshield and bottom of the windshield but leave the middle open? Not in Ontario. Now, if your vehicle was manufactured before 2017, January 1, 2017, then you can have tint to the legal limit at the top of the windshield, from the top down 3 inches, or the PS1 line, whatever happens first. But if your vehicle was manufactured Jan 1, 2017 or later, you cannot have anything on there. And if you have tinted windshield, you could have your license plates pulled, at very least obscuring your driver's view. So you don't have to have your license plates pulled. The officer may say, pull it off right now, or here's $110, or here's $220 because you're obscuring the interior and you're obstructing the driver's view. There's a myriad of combinations that the officer can use at their discretion to lay charges, but definitely you can't put anything on newer cars at all. What are the consequences for blinding another car? Do you mean by flashing lights at them? $110 if you're high beaming them. Are you blinding them with like noxious chemicals? That's different. Bad lasers, bad. Don't do that. Lane filtering at stoplight. Is it legal? Not legal. Is it reasonable to not want to sit at the end of a pack of traffic? As a rider myself, I would often slide one car length in and stop. I wasn't trying to blast past 16 cars at a light to be I could use a lot of words to describe what people would think of you if you did that. But I was just trying to make sure that the car's bumpers were rammed before my rear tire and person were hit, should a driver lose control and come after us or run into us. So depends on the situation, but it's not legal to filter all the way to the front. Still a careless charge. Or at speed, I guess it could be something else. It could be more serious. It's the lesser of two evils, but it's not legal. How's everything working here? We're still seeing TikTok coming through. Cool. Testing the technology. How do motorcycles handle red lights without sensors? They all have sensors. Whether or not they can trigger them is a different question. And in Ontario, there's none of this timeout, give up on light, just make the turn. It is a right turn where legal, and then you could make a U-turn where safe and legal, and then continue about your way. But sometimes repositioning works, or I've turned off my bike, walked up. If it's the middle of the night, no one's around, walked up to the button and pressed the crosswalk, trigger the light. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Growal says, sends a rose and a ha, ha, ha. Okay. If someone was turning lane but wanted to go straight, so they changed lanes into traffic, but the rear end of their car is still sticking into the turning lane, applicable charges? Someone was turning lane but wanted to go straight. So they're in a turning lane, they should be turning. They shouldn't be lane changing. They're in a high... If they're struck as a result of them not completing their lane change and safety, there's an issue there. I'm trying to visualize what I'm not picking up what you're putting down exactly, but they're changing lanes but haven't completed the lane change and someone hits them. Well, the person who hits them is still responsible. Are adaptive headlights not working properly illegal? At least they should be. Adaptive headlights, ones that change for tilt. If they don't tilt and appropriately aim or redirect based on the load of the rear of the vehicle, if they're now facing the sky, as long as they're in line with what you're normally seeing, so any vehicle that doesn't have adaptive headlights or leveling headlights, I imagine would have the problem. But I don't have a lot of experience with adaptive. The only ones I've seen are the ones that load level. So tell me if that's what you're talking about. But yeah, if you overload your vehicle and now you're pointing into the sky, you're blinding everybody else, that's a problem. It's misdirected headlights. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. TikTok people, line 6 in the 6th, you are in queue. Yes, for the folks that are saying, why isn't he answering the question? Well, I'm doing my best. We try and answer everything. We talk about stuff. Takes a little while. We get to you when we can. And if we don't get you today, we'll get to you on Monday when we come back after the weekend. If you don't know who I am by now, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It's a wonderful place to live, work, and play. If you'd like to ask us questions, we do this weekdays, most weekdays, from 10 to 11-ish. And we also put up content. So if you don't follow us, ASKaTrafficCop.TrafficCop.ca, you can go to all of our social media. We also have a podcast. This live stream is rebroadcast, uploaded as a podcast so that you can, terrible. I just realized I never pressed go on Instagram. Lots of buttons to press here. So yeah, we upload this as a podcast afterwards. You can always get the entire replay without burning your data because you can synchronize when you're on Wi-Fi and stay in touch. But if you want to ask us questions, TrafficCop.ca has a submission form. You can just send an email. There's lots of options. At the end of the day, our goal is to help you answer questions about stuff and things. More specifically, traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. Okay, what is the charge if you're caught doing the dirty with your significant other in a parked car? There's so many things I could think of that would be potentials. It depends on what's being seen outside. I've never gone there. I don't even know where to start on that, quite frankly. Caught me off guard with that, Corey. I don't know. What would I charge? If it was public indecency, maybe. I've never laid the charge. I don't know. I'd phone a friend, someone who talks about moving inside a vehicle instead of moving a vehicle. Okay, I got pulled over for no reason. What do you mean no reason? Because if we pull you over, it's to, at very least, check the status of your driver's license to make sure you're a licensed driver, check the status of your insurance to make sure you're an insured vehicle, that you're operating an insured vehicle anyway, or checking the status of your vehicle, checking what is the other one? License, insurance, I'm missing one. Sobriety, there you go. Took me a second. Sometimes things stick up there. And then, of course, to make sure your vehicle is safe. Okay. Oh, So Baked is in Hamilton. Brandine is in London. Isabella's in Vaughan. James is in Whitby. Awesome. And Doug Allen is going ice fishing, hopefully this weekend. Be careful on the ice if it hasn't formed properly. Hearing about lots of people who have fallen through and been hurt. So be careful. What's the maximum legal tint? So I've got a couple of videos on this. I need a sip first. Now, there was a creator who used to say, I must hydrate before I educate. I haven't seen him in ages. I don't know what it is. On TikTok, you normally see videos from the people you follow. And then every once in a while, they just disappear. They're still creating content, but I don't get notified or they don't end up in my feed. Really, really weird. Anyway, he a very interesting fellow who hydrates before he educates. Max tint limit is 30% for certification purposes, but if we can't see you, regardless of whether it's because of the tint or atmospheric conditions like overcast or darkness, if we can't see you to describe you, even if it means someone wearing a hood, if we can't see inside, it's against the law. So $110 ticket if your vehicle is obscuring the interior of your vehicle. That's the atmospheric or just can't describe you. If it's determined that it's so dark, like limo tint on the front, that there's never a time that we'd be able to see in, it's way over the 30%, then we'd pull your plates and you'd get towed away and you'd have to apply for a new certification to be safetied because safety certification requires you to have the appropriate amount of tint. Okay. Manny says, PC Sean, I'm every day drifting my Mustang Shelby at Westmood Mall Square, and no one even bother you. You have been very lucky. Just because you haven't been charged doesn't mean you're not eligible to be charged. And I appreciate that when I was a kid, we did the same stuff. It is now not legal and now would result you if the officer proceeded to lay charges. It could do a number of things. One, if there was nobody around, just a stunt driving. So 14-day vehicle impound, 30-day license. Then on conviction, 1 to 3 year driving prohibition, $2,000 to $10,000 fine, up to 6 months in jail. If you're talking about there are people around and you're putting lives at risk immediately, dangerous driving becomes an option in addition to the stunt. Petrolia, Ontario. That's Christopher Parker. Right on. I used to have a business on Petrolia, at Toronto Street, Petrolia. So I have a connection to Petrolia. It got the brain gears going. Okay. Why are the transport trucks governed at 105, but some highways are 110? Because they weren't 110 when they were governed at 105? I don't know. I'm from the Wexford neighborhood. Right on, Corey. Yogi says, all newcomers should be tested for driving in Canada to ensure they follow and are aware of the HTA. They don't have to, though. Some newcomers are coming from countries that have licenses that have the ability to simply exchange. Some, however, are not given a straight exchange, and they do have to be tested. Others get no benefit from their previous driving license experience. It depends on what the laws are in the country that they're visiting from or moving here from. Cars with giant touchscreens, is using them considered distracted driving? Not exactly. Distracted driving to lay that particular group of charges has to be a handheld communication device, a handheld entertainment device, or a screen visible to driver. And that screen would be playing something other than what your air conditioning settings are. So if you were watching video on your infotainment system, that would be appropriate for distracted driving. But if you're changing the station on your radio or using CarPlay, that might constitute careless driving if it negatively impacts your ability to operate your motor vehicle safely. All right. How were the Crown Vics during the winter time when police were using them? I miss those. They were the most comfortable and best police car I've ever operated. Although I still prefer the motorcycle over any of them, the Crown Vics were awesome. They were not great in the snow, but we knew how to do what we had to do. And now we have four-wheel drive vehicles, and I don't know how they do. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've driven one around on a regular basis. Okay. Moving around. Can I assume cyclists are supposed to follow the rules of the road, stop signs, etc.? It is safe to assume that they should, because they should. They're legally required to. It's not safe to assume that they will. There are many who follow the rules, and for them, I appreciate their participation in that whole rule of law thing. There's a lot who don't. And if you assume that they're going to do the right thing, you might be plowing into them. A lot of cyclists are alive today because somebody else didn't make the assumption that they were going to stop for the red light or the stop sign. So I would ask that cyclists follow the rules, but assume that a cyclist won't be, and take that extra beat to make sure that they're doing what you expect them to do. Same thing with drivers, though. You can't assume that a vehicle approaching quickly into an intersection is going to stop last minute. Especially if speed is too much, they might be sliding into your intersection and meeting you up front. So be careful out there, regardless of what the vehicle of choice is for the other drivers on the road with you. Okay. Michael says, for answering to the Mustang Shelby Drifter, the mall security can call police. You can be trespassed and charged stunt driving, HTA. Stop pushing your luck. Go to skid school for the fun and legal. Listen, the only place you can legally stunt drive right now is on a proper track, go-kart or racetrack, and at a permanent event, an event that is licensed and given permission from the government to operate in that capacity. How to safely wear seatbelt when pregnant in later weeks of pregnancy. I am not the right person to answer that because I don't remember. Other than I know some people get a doctor's note to say they don't have to wear one. I don't like that myself. I think seatbelts are the best. But in terms of where to place it, I don't want to give you, I can tell you where not to place it. Don't put it under your arm. It's almost a guarantee that you will be killed in a collision. Because under your arm can interfere with your lungs. It's a bad thing. So I want to find out a good answer for you. So I'm going to make a note with my other many list of notes, my large list of notes. Natalia. Okay. Do me a favor. ASKaTrafficCop.ca. Send me a submission, a link on our submission page. Sorry, use the link to our submission page. Send me a note so I have your email address. I will find out from someone who has an explicit or complete answer, and I'll also do some Googly gooing because I don't remember the last time we've talked about this stuff. Something I should know. Okay. Hey, I'm from Quebec. What would be the fine for me to drive with me with the ceiling light on? Ha-ha! Now, in Quebec or in Ontario? Now, I don't know what the rule is in Quebec about ceiling lights on. There is no law against interior lights being on in the province of Ontario. So I know that some states do have a law about it, and other provinces may as well. But here in Ontario, you will not get a ticket for interior lights because there isn't an offense for it. AJ says, 1 lane, stop sign. I'm going left. Can someone block me on the shoulder, then go right? No, they're not allowed to you're going left. Okay. So this is called passing on the right. And there are conditions where you can do it legally, but you say block me on the right. So, or block me on the shoulder. The terminology threw me off. So if you're slowing to make a left or you've stopped to make a left and there is a paved shoulder, then yes, that is the one condition where someone can pass on the right lawfully. If it is a dirt shoulder, gravel shoulder, not legal. That would be a charge for passing on the right. Okay. By the way, what do you guys think of the automated note that's coming up every 5 minutes to say, please use a cue before your question that not everybody is seeing because TikTok won't see it, but everybody else is seeing it. And then, of course, it shows up and it reminds me to say it. Okay. Don't tint your windshield, just wear sunglasses. Yes, and or you could use UV films if your vehicle doesn't have it. Seth wants to know, Sean, do you enforce any laws, or are you just a TikTok guy? So I was an enforcement officer. I was an officer who went on the street. I do have the lawful authority to lay charges, but due to an injury from an on-duty motorcycle collision, I don't actually go on the road right now. So until the time that I am back on the road, I do not enforce the rules. I educate about them. I'm not just a TikTok guy. I actually educate both the public and police officers about all the laws surrounding the Highway Traffic Act. I'm kind of the HTA guy. So I'm always talking about the stuff, but I'm not laying charges, which is probably good for everybody out there who's breaking the law because I'd be laying charges for everything I talk about, and I would do it the moment I saw it. I don't have a problem with writing a ticket for 20 over. I don't have a problem for writing a ticket for 10 over. So it's probably good that I'm back here. I'm saving everybody a lot of money in tickets. Someone says windshield tint is cooler than glasses, but way more expensive because windshield tint will ensure that I take your license plates and you'll be towed. So you'll be paying for the towing, you'll be paying for reinstatement fees after you reapply for the safety and go. Yeah, you're gonna lose your plates and get other charges. I just touch there. It's sharp. Can I travel on a diamond lane without the required passengers from one intersection to another if I'm making a right turn at the next intersection? So this is a question where we're talking about municipal diamond lanes or multi-use lanes, not talking about HOV lanes, because you cannot do it in HOV lanes. But yes, if you were to enter a diamond lane, because a diamond lane in a municipality is going to be often on the right side, the curb lane. And in that situation, you need to enter it in order to get in and turn into a upcoming driveway or a upcoming intersection. You can't cross through the intersection to the next intersection. That's where I would give you the ticket. Q for question. I started an A for answer and C for comment. We could do that. We could add it to the regular message. We talked about this. Boom, boom, boom. We already answered that one. So you're saying we should do that to avoid lights. Seth, out of context, I don't know which one we're talking about. Are you talking about the motorcycle making the right and making the U-turn? If that's what you're asking, if that's what I'm saying, then that's what I was saying. Not to avoid lights, but to avoid lights that do not respond to you. Okay. Mike says, what is the point of having a flashlight if you can't use it? Under what circumstances is it legal? What? What's the point of having flashlights? Mike, I don't understand your question. Okay. Good morning. Have you ever pulled over someone you know or a family member? I have pulled over people that I know. I have pulled over people. Have I pulled over a family member? I don't think so. But I've pulled over people that I know or know indirectly. I pulled over my neighbor once. That was awkward. And seeing as I lived directly across from them, I did give them a warning. It was very awkward. It wasn't because I wanted to give them a break or that they were my great friends. I'd met them once, but it was awkward. Okay. What is this? Do you need to have your physical license card? That's Brandino answering somebody else. Okay. Yes, you do have to have the original. Oh, Comrade Gama. Comrade, when all the people are saying, accusing us of being communist in Canada because they've never actually read the definition of communism, and then someone who has the name Comrade, and I assume, if someone has the name Comrade as a username and then complains about tax dollars, I think that's pretty funny. Yes, your tax dollars are here educating the public because that's something we do Monday to Friday from 10 to 11, or sometimes a little longer, like we'll probably go today. We also create content to educate people about traffic safety because, we want people to survive their drives. So, yeah, tax dollars are absolutely being used for good things. And we are, by the way, the largest police channel that deals strictly with education on TikTok. International. Okay. What's this? Boom, boom, boom. Chase Freeman says, what are your thoughts on the new provincial tow truck licensing? I just went to a seminar about this yesterday to get more information. But I think that Toronto was doing it right, and now it's a provincial thing. So there's some growing pains, and we'll see what happens. But I'm sure, I don't know. I have to reserve judgment until I have some more experience seeing how it works. But growing pains is is my current comment. We're going to see how it goes. What's the legal difference between underglow and wheel well lights? Nothing. Here's the deal. There's no specific law for either of those two things. The law is that you can't project anything other than yellow or white to the front. You can't project anything other than amber or red to the back. If the lights are visible based on the way they were installed, you might be breaking those laws, and you would be eligible for charges. So I wouldn't put them on, or at least I wouldn't be using them while you're driving. Having, pink underglow doesn't make your car go faster or look cooler, despite what everyone thought in the 80s and 90s. Received the ticket for no muffler, but the car has a muffler, just not a factory place. What to do? If you have a muffler and you have a lawful defense, like a legitimate defense, take it to court. If you can justify or articulate why it's there. Now, here's the thing. If it doesn't do what it's designed to do, like it's a can that's empty, it would have been improper muffler. And they could amend that in court to say, well, it was improper. It wasn't working. Otherwise, I would never have ticketed them because, it was super duper noisy and blah, blah, blah. Whatever the reason. You're going to have a court experience. But if you have a muffler and you think you're justified, and that's what you were ticketed for no muffler, sounds like you have a defense. Step Bro says private property, buddy. Step Bro, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you saying, are you suggesting that private property you can't get tickets? Because you would be wrong. In the province of Ontario, stunt driving is enforceable on private property. What's your favorite division to work out of? Traffic services, where I work. And I have worked for quite some time. Not to mention my previous work as a volunteer with the auxiliary program. This is always where I've wanted to work. I started as an auxiliary at traffic services. I wanted to come back here when I went PC. I didn't. I went to 12 Division. That's where I worked for a while. I had worked in 32 Division as an auxiliary as well when I got promoted because I was a sergeant there. But this is the best place in sliced bread. Okay. So somebody said they were stopped for no reason. Liz says, there's always a reason for being pulled over. I was pulled over once and did nothing wrong. Turns out the officer stopped me to actually catch a speeding driver behind me. Interesting. Interesting. I've never pulled someone else over to pull another car over, but maybe you were part of the group. Interesting. Okay, I'm a truck driver and stay the speed limit, but we'll have trucks passing me at 120. I am a police officer who drives at 100 everywhere, and I'm being passed by people doing, I got 100 where it's a 100. Obviously, I'm doing 90 where it's a 90. But yeah, I can't get over how many people are speeding. In fact, I'm like the only driver following the law. But I do love when people get angry and stare at me and honk and flash their lights and give me the finger because I know that I've done my job. I've made their day less fun while doing the lawful thing. I would like them to actually follow the law. What info is required on the insurance pink slip? Mine has no policy number. Your pink slip is useless, my friend. You have to have a policy number on there. It has to be an entire and complete. It has to be a proof of insurance. No policy number means it's not proof of insurance, and you would get a charge for $65 in Ontario. I would contact your insurance company, tell them that there was an issue, and get a new one. Because also, if you're involved in a collision, you have no policy number, it is not a policy proof. Maybe they give you multiple copies, and some of them got printed properly, others didn't. Thin White Line Interceptor. Good morning, Sean, and happy Friday. This is Ryan, by the way. Where would one go to learn how to drive their vehicle in the snow? Skid control, brake. There are driving schools. There are skid schools. There are people and places who can do this on private property where there's a permit or it's a racetrack where you can do it. Now, here's something that people don't seem to understand. And stunt driving is doing donuts and drifting. Donuts and drifting are not required for teaching how to recover from a skid. Momentary loss of traction because you've driven around a corner and you didn't factor in or you were going a little too hot and you lose the back end just a little bit and you regain it because that's what regaining control is. That's not stunt driving. Accidental, unintentional loss of traction in the turn is not stunt driving. Intentional. And how do I know it's intentional versus not intentional? If I'm winding up to 40 or 50 and cranking the wheel and doing spins, I know that's stunt driving. It is clearly, the evidence is going to support me in court that was stunt driving. If you make a left turn and you lose the back end just an itty bitty bit and correct it, or even a little bit more and correct it, that's not stunt driving. There's a big difference. And I'm sorry, I'm trying not to sound facetious. It's not my intention. It's all about how you handle the event. We're not saying you can't drive. People lose traction all the time. People accelerate too quickly and lose the traction just a little bit, and the back end slides. That's not the same thing as stunt driving. There's a bar here. And what people are doing is going to parking lots and just doing donuts. That is not learning how to control a skid. That's being an idiot. Very different. Okay. Going back. What's the maximum forward beams? The maximum number of lights that you can have on facing forward? 4 in Ontario. Scrolling back, because I didn't intentionally pass everybody else. I just saw that one and hit the button. Don't spam. Yes, don't spam. Can a cop just stop you and ask for ID for no reason? Are you talking about when you're driving a motor vehicle or when you talk about when you're walking around? If you're driving a motor vehicle, yes, we can stop you at any time for any reason. You are required by law as the driver of a motor vehicle to provide your license, ownership, and insurance on demand of a police officer, period. No other reason required. We ask for it, you have to give it to us. You don't want to identify yourself, you can get arrested. And what else? But if you're talking about when you're walking down the street, if I'm investigating you in relation to a criminal offense or an offense, then yes. But if it's just because you're walking down the street and I just want to know what your name is, that's different. No. Okay. You work from home? No. This is the Toronto Police Studio at Traffic Services, 9 Hannah Avenue in Toronto. In Jeep platoons, Carpetland, as we call it. It is the administrative offices, and we have this wonderful studio that's being created for us to do what we do here. Working from home would be great because I'd love to save gas, but apparently they like to see me in the office. And I like to come here because I have a lot of friends that work here. It's nice to visit. Vice Grips says, no cyclist obeys the laws of the road. Well, it's not true. There are some who do. There might be fewer that do than don't, but yeah. Listen, the cycling community already doesn't like me because I tell them to wear helmets and stuff. They just don't like being told what to do. The ones who don't like following the rules don't like it. I'm a big bad meanie with a uniform. Tell people to do stuff and things. Can I go through a one-lane intersection using the right turn lane if someone is waiting to turn left? So you're talking once again about passing on the right. In that scenario, I don't think that you're in a lane that's marked for a right turn. Then no, you can't use that as a through lane. That would be inappropriate. You'd be looking at making a collisional issue. Collisional is a new word for me. I just made it up. Collisional. Okay. Comment. If I had to have a normal car, I want a Crown Vic if they were made, still made with an all-wheel drive. Have they ever had an all-wheel drive option? Really? I had a Caprice for a period of time, no all-wheel drive. But I would, I agree. I think they're great. I actually wanted the one with the LT1 engine in it. The Caprice with the LT1. Yeah. My girl just got my G1, their G1. Not my girl, but that's my, no, that just sounds wrong. The username my girl says they just got their G1. Congratulations, and Emma supports you in that too. Yeah, that's awesome. And stick around, ask us all the questions you need so we can help you make sure you're ready for your G2 test in 8 months to 12 months. 8 months if you take a professional driving school, 12 months if you don't. But it is always better to have, even if you think you're good, you're better off with professional training. Brock says, currently working on an application to become an OPP cadet. Was originally planning on TPS, Special Constable, but OPP is best for my situation right now. Learned a lot about HTA from your streams. Thank you. You're very welcome. I'm glad to hear it. Good luck with your cadet process. It's great that they have the cadet process. Now, we don't have one currently, but Special Constables, I would say, is probably an unofficial cadet program. In any case, you got to do what's right for you. And I'm glad to hear good people are joining. By the way, if you're interested in becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service, let me tell you how you can get more information. Open up the screen. Here we go. Wonder if they have any new postings for a Friday. Okay. Careers page. Now, you can find this by going to www.tps.ca/careers. And when you get here, all the information you want about all these different jobs is available for you to peruse. Even the auxiliary officer volunteer, there's even an adult volunteer. But what I always like to look at is civilian roles and see if there's any new positions. A friend of mine wrote to me last night. He says, I want to apply for a technology position. Okay, there's 8 positions currently available. Technical analyst intermediate. Okay, that I think is a new one. Is that a new one? Did we talk about that yesterday? Posted date, the 19th. Today is the 19th. It's the newest one. We have the training specialist, indigenous, digital team developer, radio infrastructure, technical analyst, workplace investigator, equity, inclusion, and human rights, advisor, indigenous engagement, yippie, and communications operator. Those are the active positions aside from police constable, which we're always looking to fill. So if you're interested in becoming a member of an amazing organization called the Toronto Police, check it out. Come join. We're always taking applications. I shouldn't say that. We're not always taking applications. And in fact, if you don't apply for those when the positions are open, you won't be able to apply. It means that we'll have closed it, and then you will have missed out. We don't want that to be the case. The real Noah? The realist? The realist. Love some of these names. They say, thanks for doing this. Very informative. Thank you for the thank you. On the road says seatbelts don't save lives. I disagree. Seatbelts do save lives, along with airbags used in conjunction and worn properly. There's so many things. So many things. Someone trying to call me, so I'm telling them to watch the stream. Okay. Optimist L says, thank you for your service. Thank you for the thank you. If cyclist hits my car, who pays for the damage, but no insurance for cyclists, but have road priorities? Did I read that right? But no insurance for cyclists, but have road priorities. Okay, so Vice Grips, the answer is that your insurance is going to cover them for their damages potentially. If they have home or tenant insurance, they can Go to that for benefits, and you could probably subrogate, or your insurance company could go seek damages to them if they caused the collision. By the way, dash camera, really important, really helps you along. Yeah. What else can I tell you about that? But yeah, the sad truth is that they can cause a collision. If they have no insurance, your insurance pays for them. I've often said I think that bicycles, if they're operating in a city like Toronto, should have insurance and licenses and education and proof that they do the right thing. I don't know. Not everybody agrees with me. Just looking over at the magical window of Instagram that I've been ignoring for so long. They want to know, how about if a vehicle comes tinted? Is there an offense? If you bought it used tinted, you're still responsible, and it shouldn't have been certified if it was illegal tint. If it's tint in the back, that's not a problem, but if it's in the driver's compartment or the windshield, that is illegal. There's no excuse but I bought it like this. Jason Nathanson says, saw a regular police officer conduct a traffic stop in a marked special constable car. Does Toronto Police allow regular police to use special constable cars? I've never heard anybody doing that, but it's a police car. It's a police vehicle. The police officer inside, if there was a shortage of vehicles and they use that, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. There's still an obligation under law to stop for red and blue lights. Just that fact that it's a special constable on the side of it doesn't mean that you don't have to stop for them. So I've never heard of anyone doing this, but I appreciate that it must have happened. I will have to ask about that because it's an interesting situation. Pardon, you can't wear a hood or a hoodie while driving in a non-tinted windows? No, I didn't say that. I said that this is someone saying, I said that we have to be able to describe the driver. I wasn't saying you couldn't do it. People get really upset about hoodies. Okay. Emma says, I just wore my seatbelt normally when I was pregnant. See, I want to look into things. I want to know stuff. I wonder if there is a prescribed way or an extension belt or something. Okay. Oh, 10 Rainbow says, hello, I'm from Ontario. Can I use my license in the USA to drive, or do I need a U.S. license? No, you're an Ontario resident. You're visiting the United States. As a visitor, the United States accepts our driver's licenses, despite the fact that I've seen videos where people are being pulled over in the United States and being told they have to apply for a license in the United States. No, that is not correct at all. I don't understand how police officers in the States would think that. But, yeah, you can visit, you can drive. I've driven extensively all over the place. All over the world with my Canadian license. Now, if you are going to live there, if you're going to become a resident there, well, then you have to convert your license to be there. If you've moved there, it's different. I lived in Florida for a period of time. I went and got an Ontario. I had my Ontario license, and I got my Florida license in a trade. Okay. 5% tint all around. That's Yazzie, flexing. It's all totally illegal. Illegal. Totally illegal. Cannot have 5%. 5% tint means 95% of light is blocked. If you mean 5% blocked and 95% light comes through, it's perfectly legal, except you can't have it on the windshield at all. At all. Was it Wahlburgers closed down in Toronto? Did you hear about this? That's sad. I just read something that made me think of that. Scrolling back because things have just updated. Are no front plates illegal? In Ontario, you are issued 2 plates. You're required by law to display 2 plates. If you fail to do so, it's a $110 fine. If you're visiting from another province or a state where they don't issue 2 plates, then it is not something we would give you a ticket for. But we know for certain that Ontario vehicles must have them. Okay. James says, I have a question, but I'm unable to ask it properly due to the character limit in the forum. So you have an option. You can go and give it to me in parts, ask it in multiple questions, or go to TrafficCop.ca and click on the submission form. You can send me an email. I will answer it offline later. Okay. Okay, let's see here. We've already addressed this one. Is it illegal to drive with front-facing purple LED lights on a car or truck? Projecting color light forward, like you can't have red or anything that would look like would be confused for red if it's so similar. You can't project blue or red. The only thing you can project would be yellow or white. But you're talking about like accent lights. No, like even if you have halos in your headlights, you're talking about something that's going to get you a charge for improper headlights. I would say don't do it. Looking cool or thinking that it looks cool is not worth it. Okay. So the question was, is fail to move into another lane for emergency vehicle or tow truck, is it a serious charge? Is it a slow down and move over? Yeah, it is a serious offense. I'll read you the whole thing. So, upon approaching an emergency vehicle with its lamp producing intermittent flashes of red light or red and blue light, or a tow truck with its lamp producing intermittent flashes of amber light that is stopped on a highway with two or more lanes of traffic in the same side of the highway as the side on which there's really a lot of words here. I make myself laugh. It's all the time. Anyway, it was a joke for me. Let's see here on the side of the emergency, blah, blah, blah. The driver of the vehicle traveling in the same lane that the emergency vehicle or tow truck is stopped in, or a lane that is adjacent to the emergency vehicle or tow truck. Okay, rather than doing the wordy thing, because it's Friday. If you're in the lane, you need to change the lanes and go slowly. If you can't change lanes because there's nowhere to go, but they're on the shoulder, there's enough space to safely pass, you need to slow down considerably. If you don't, what are the consequences? Yeah, that's where it gets, is it a serious thing? It's a $490 ticket and 3 demerit points. The Grinch says, good morning to you. What if I'm allergic to tint? Sorry, not allergic to tint. They want tint because they're allergic to the sun. If you're in Ontario, I'm sorry, there's no medical exemption for tint. If you're allergic to the sun, I would suggest UV coatings, which is not tint. It doesn't reduce the amount of light coming through it, changes or blocks the ultraviolet rays, which are what probably cause issues for you. That is legal because it's not tint. It doesn't obscure the windows. If you have issues that doesn't address, there is UV blocking clothing that you can wear. And if you're allergic to the sun, I'm sure you're already familiar with those things. But tint is not legal, at least not beyond the limits that are set forth in the guide. And the guide is HTA referenced. It's the Light Truck and Passenger Vehicle Guide, Inspection Guide. LJ, it's ever since I turned that button on and everything goes, it really changes things, doesn't it? You're seeing everything that everybody else sees. It's changed the world. Can you do job? Which job? My job? I'm doing my job. Is there any plenty for drivers who drive 90 in a 100? Penalty, maybe you mean? In the first lane, unnecessary slow driving, slower moving vehicles staying to the right. There's a couple of options. 90 and 100 in the first lane is just a bad move. And there are penalties and appropriate charges that could be laid. I really hate that when it refreshes, I have to scroll 100 messages back to find out where the last one I left on is. It's 11:12, and normally we stop at 11, but then what's normal? I tend to go late every day to try and get as many of your questions answered as possible. 10 Rainbow says, is the front windshield the only window it's illegal to tint? Pretty much. You absolutely cannot tint the front windshield. The only thing that you can have on a front windshield is if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or before, then you can have a 3-inch tint brow across the top, and that's the only thing you can have. 2017 and newer, you can't have any tint on the windshield, or it's an unsafe motor vehicle and an obstruction of the driver's view. What else is there? And the windows directly left and right of the driver are regulated, so you can have no more than 30% for insurance or for inspection purposes. And if it is even lighter than that, or if it's lighter than that, but because it's dark outside, I can't see in your vehicle, it's still a ticket. Someone says, QWERTY is my password. That's funny. Okay. Vice Scripts wants to know, if I know my driver's license off by heart, do I really need a physical copy? Yes, you do. Knowing the number doesn't mean anything. I mean, I appreciate it. It makes it easier for me to find you if I don't know where to look. But the answer is you must be able to surrender your driver's license on demand. If not, it's a $110 fine. Now, an officer doesn't have to give you a ticket, but you're eligible for a ticket. They could use discretion and decide not to give you a ticket. That's up to them. The Grinch says they never heard of community policing. Oh, there's a couple people who are haters for the fact that we're here on the internet instead of not being on the internet, not helping all the people who are watching. That's okay. But yeah, this is definitely community policing. And Optimist Ella says, and you do an amazing job. Keep it going. Thank you very much. We're really proud of the work we do here on social media. We get to help more people than ever before to answer their questions about stuff and things that are important to them, to people, keeping people safe. So I love it. I love it a lot. And everything just updated. Oh, no, I found it again. Maybe. Okay. We talked about maximum forward beams. Is stunt driving legal on private property not connected to a main road when you have permission from the owner is the follow-up. And the answer is no. There is no place where stunt driving is legal other than racetracks, go-kart tracks, permanent events, indie events, places that are permitted by government. It is very clear that farmers' fields, above ground, below ground, any kind of private property, not permitted, regardless of possession or permission by owner or any of that jazz. Okay. Corey says he's got to sneak back to work. Thanks for answering all my questions, Officer Sean. Have a great weekend, everybody. And he then leaves a dad joke, which I will come back to afterwards. We talked about the no front plates already. Thoughts on cops turning on their lights to jump the traffic light? Okay, let's talk about that. The assumption I assume is that they're doing it for an unlawful reason. Under the Highway Traffic Act, the only time that we're actually required by law to activate our lights and sirens is to go through the intersection that is presenting us with a red light. So if we need to go through that light, we have to stop, turn our lights and sirens on, and continue. Now, if we could have had our lights and sirens on all the way up to that light, we still have to stop before proceeding through. So why do we turn it on and turn it off again? Because we don't always turn our lights on to get to a call. Very often, it is much safer for us to have the lights off. People do the darndest things when we turn them on. I've had people stop right in the middle of the road because they see it. They get so nervous. They think we're stopping them. Whatever the reason they stop, they stop. It's no good. So we tend to leave our lights off unless we absolutely have to turn them on to communicate with the driver that's not doing what we want them to do. But watch people when we turn the lights on. Watch the utter mayhem that it would slow us down. We'd never get anywhere. So the only time we turn it on is to get through an intersection. And then people say, well, they just go through the intersection and turn to Tim Hortons. I'm sure that sometimes that happens. It's not necessarily because they were going to Tim Hortons. It may have been that they were going to a call, and then over the radio, dispatcher said, we have enough units on scene, slow down, everybody else slow down. You know why? Because when cops need help, everybody comes running. Every copper in the city, if it goes citywide, will come running. And that means that we have a whole bunch of people risking their lives to get to help another officer out. In a second, when they are no longer required, when they have enough people that have managed to get there, tell everybody to calm down. You know what they do when they calm down? They pull off the road. They let the adrenaline calm down. And then they tend to get a coffee, because I certainly do. I get coffee when I can. You never know when you'll get another opportunity. And that's sort of how you manage your day on the road. Well, I got to scroll back more. Lots of comments. Great. If you're watching, you don't know who I am. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service. I talk about traffic safety, traffic log, and police stuff all the time. And I do it because I love it. Not because this is the only job I can do, not because I'm hiding from the road, which some people like to suggest. I do it because I'm passionate about traffic safety. I want to help people. And this is, at the moment, the best way I can. Before this, I was in the motor squad, and I had a crash. But aside from the crash, I used to love being in the motor squad, which I think is the best place to work. He's fun like no other. Okay, hang on here. Oh, okay. This is a comment from Liz about why it was that she was stopped. Interesting. I'm a boxer. If someone comes into my house to steal my car, could I defend myself? Stealing your car and defending yourself are two different things. Defending your car and beating someone to death is not okay. Attacking someone, if there's no, you're allowed to defend yourself. You can use as much force as necessary to defend yourself. At the point where it's no longer defense, it's more than what's reasonable, you're criminally responsible for your actions. So if you really hurt somebody, like you heard a situation where someone was arrested, they disarmed someone who attacked them with a baseball bat, from my understanding, and they used the baseball bat to then beat them up, chase them and beat them up. They were arrested. They were criminally responsible for their actions. Now, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with anything. I'm telling you that it's against the law to use excessive force. A police officer who uses excessive force will be charged criminally. Okay. Moving along. This guy doesn't respond to any questions. Typical. Listen, you asked that question at 10:56. It is now 11:19. Do you know why I didn't answer your question? Because I hadn't gotten to you yet. I cannot read what I cannot answer for what I have not read yet, and I take time to answer as many questions as possible, even the one that suggests I'm not answering any. What's a pressing question? One that is urgent or good or not just a comment? I don't know. Boom. We've covered this, but is windshield tint allowed in Ontario? No, it's not. They said no freedom. Freedom is not about having tinted windshields per se. There are conditions to freedom. Freedom is about, being allowed to do things within the confines of rules that are good for society. It's not just do what you want. That's not freedom. That's anyway. I'm not going to get into politics. Can you please ticket people for having their high beams on for no reason? Absolutely. What side of the road to pull over on the highway? Depends. Are you talking about a divided highway? Are you talking about a what is it called? Restricted access highway, like a expressway, where it's one way in one direction? Depends on where you are. We normally want people to move to the right, but sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you have to move to the left, and the law says closest curb or edge of roadway. We're paying cops to sit on TikTok live. We've had 4,300 people on TikTok so far. We've had 20 people. We have 20 people watching on YouTube. There are people engaged in conversation, asking questions of a police officer, getting answers. No different if they called me at the front desk and spoke to me on the phone. Except we're creating content, making it available forever for people to use as a reference. It's all searchable. Police are being paid to be on TikTok, just like police are being paid to wait for a telephone to ring at the front desk. It's valuable. Okay, how many demerit points are attached to unsafe move, lane, or shoulder? I think it's 3, but let's have a look. Unsafe move. I can search these things. $110 fine, 3 points. Did I not hit the button on that? Oh, come on. Going back. I want to find that question. Anyway, that's the answer to the question that I didn't put on screen. Oh, I just got an email from a radio station. I'm also a media relations officer, so I do television and radio visits. And that's what I'll be doing later on AM 640. Because if you're watching, Chris, I'll help you out on the radio. Assuming it's not after I go home. That's less easy. Scrolling back because I lost a whole bunch. Holy moly, where'd it go? Play a couple of rounds of Fortnite. I'm a what's the other one? The Call of Duty. I like Call of Duty. I've never really gotten into Fortnite, but they're almost the same, aren't they? Are they not similar? If they're not similar, like, oops. I want to find that other one. Okay, question about American versus Canadian police. Let's see here. Still scrolling back, trying to see where I left off. Come on, where'd it go? Okay. I was trying to find the one where we'd left off. What happens is it updates and then it scrolls way, way down, and then I lose my place, and I don't know. There's a gazillion questions here. Truly a lot. Things are all working nicely. I'm glad that the connection's working. But holy moly is a lot. Okay, I apologize. There's a bunch of questions I've missed in the middle. Stephen D. Nielsen says, decades ago, we purposely lost control in empty parking lots at night when the first snowfall came every year. It was a great way to know what your vehicle would do before it was too late. Law enforcement has become too much of a joke with the stunt driving nonsense and enforcing on our private property. I appreciate your comments. I, too, as a child, did that. I even argued when the law came in that how will people know how to drive in the snow? So I spoke to professional driving instructors, people who are professional driving instructors. And I asked them about their opinions. And they said, you don't need to lose control and do donuts to learn how to drive and learn how to control your vehicle. You want to learn how to not lose control. You want to learn when your car starts to lose control, how to avoid it actually losing control. It's less about recovering from a spin because we're not Top Gun. It's more about how to avoid losing traction in the first place. Slowing down is probably the best way. I then spoke to race car drivers and race car instructors who echoed the comments of the young driver's instructor, who, by the way, was the head of instructor at the time. So while I appreciate what you're saying, I don't agree with you because my mind was changed when talking to professionals, and now I echo the comments and sentiment of the professionals in that area. Okay. How high can I attach stuff to my car roof, bicycle bags, etc.? I don't know if there's a maximum, other than you need to know what the maximum is so that you don't drive under something and take the roof of your car off. It's all about secure attachment, but I don't know if there's a maximum height. I'll have to look into that. That said, there are roof racks that have vertical, that you take the front wheel off and then you mount the bike vertically. I've never seen an issue with it. Yes, when I was talking about kids having bicycle or wearing helmets on their bicycles, yes, you were. I remember that. And it was Twitter was there's one particular person on Twitter who is so adamant. He's like, I'm a bicycle safety advocate and I don't believe in helmets. And I'm like, how? But yes, I appreciate, Liz. I totally remember those conversations and you're taking part in it. Okay, moving back. Why is cyclist not responsible for any insurance financial obligations to damage should be law? Not saying you can't sue them, but they'd be covered by your insurance for their immediate injuries. Yeah. Okay. Doug Allen says, I'm shocked when a cyclist actually obeys a stop sign. I just drove around assuming everyone around me has no clue what they're doing. Sometimes it's shocking. You have to assume that you're the only person who is doing what's right. You have to assume that everyone around you is going to do the wrong thing. And not because they will or won't. It's because if you're prepared for calamity, you're not shocked when it happens. Okay. We've had I'm scrolling back. I'm really annoyed by having to scroll back. Okay. Do I have to scroll back less if I look at this screen? But I can't put it on the screen, can I? Nope. So I have this app now that I have a copy of all the stuff. I can respond here. I can say, hey. So I can respond on this other computer. The problem is I can't actually put it on screen like I'm doing right now. Well, here's a cool thing. Check this out. It's going to work. There we go. So check this out. Now, if you put comments out, they just go on screen. I don't usually use this view, but it's interesting. Okay. How accurate is a mounted radar, speed radar, when there are multiple cars speeding in front? You're talking about moving radar. That's all about officers being able to articulate their observations. We don't just press a button and read the speed and lay charges. We're estimating speeds on our own. We're confirming that information with devices. But based on it's the fastest moving vehicle, there's some science behind it. Okay. What do you think of having on-screen comments? Okay. Why can't cyclists Why can't cyclists that using for work couriers, Uber Eats require to have a license and insurance? Apparently, the city of Toronto investigated having licenses, and they've just determined it's too costly or the benefit wasn't there. It's actually on the website. They talk about it. What is the driver defense course from the MTO? I'm not aware of any courses from the MTO. If there are ones, you need to contact them. I'm not familiar with it. Screen is overcrowded. Yeah, it's a little much. I've never used it. And I worry about people saying things they shouldn't. We're PG here. Is it illegal if someone keeps having their high beams on behind me? Yeah, they have to turn it off when they're within 60 meters of you. Damon Clark says, got in an accident, not my fault, got failure to yield yellow, and report says I am the charged driver. If you were charged because you did something wrong that led to the collision, then they've held you responsible for it, and they're saying that you caused that collision, that you were required to yield. I don't know anything about it other than what you've just said, but that's a possibility. Can you color tint your rear windows? Yes, it's about how much light that you're restricting, not the color, and it's about reflectivity. But rear windows can be reflective. It's the ones that are left and right of the driver. The reflection or the reflectivity prevents us from seeing inside because we'd be seeing ourselves. We just smile at our good-looking selves. What is the law for ATV on the road? You have to be licensed, insured, and it's only some places that allow them to be on the road. And certain maximum speeds for certain roads. I'm not the right guy to talk to about that. That's a Sergeant Campbell thing. He's not here today. I just stopped even trying to absorb that information because he's here all the time and answers that stuff. Okay. Is it illegal to drive without a rear bumper? That's Harry Sandu who wants to know, and the answer is yes. Cars and trucks are required to have rear bumpers. Commercial trucks, if they were manufactured without a rear bumper, don't have to have them, but if they do have a rear bumper, unless they were converted to a system that would make sense not to have a rear bumper, then they also require a rear bumper. There were 3 cars doing 30 over ahead of me, and I got pulled over. It happens. You may have been pulled over, whether it was you specifically or whether they confused and pulled over. I'm not saying mistakes don't happen. I'm saying that we're talking about moving radar. Generally speaking, we're not pulling over multiple cars. At least I'm not. But I don't know what they were doing or what they were using and what their skill level is. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Are limos allowed to have dark tint? In the rear, yes. In the passenger compartment in the back, absolutely. If you're talking about in the driver's compartment, no. Not beyond the legal limit. Alex wants to know, what is Air 2? Well, we had a helicopter for 10 seconds in Toronto. Air 1 and Air 2. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Harry says, thanks for the answer. You're welcome. Okay. As we lose more first responders to mental illness, then why do we do to line of duty? Should we be enforcing mandatory therapy, much like physical requirements? Depending on there are units where there is mandatory therapy, or at least check-ins with doctors. I don't know about therapy, but they have to talk to doctors because they're so involved with death and destruction and seeing hard stuff that we want to make sure that we keep them around and safe. We live in a world that has some not so nice things. We deal with that. We're collision investigators, but very often it's the death investigation because people die in collisions. And then you have tactical units that are involved with very high stress situations. Should everyone do a check-in? I think it's promoted. Like there should be no stigma against getting checked out and talking to people. We got big feelings here. One of my colleagues was murdered last. That's amazing how much time flies. But anyway, it is encouraged to seek help. Mandatory, not for everybody. But is it a good idea? Yeah, why not? How long are demerit points on your license? It's 2 years from the date of offense. Convictions are 3 years from the date of conviction. Can I drive one passenger more than the seatbelts? No. In Ontario, you're required to have a seatbelt available, a seat with a seatbelt available for every passenger in your vehicle. You cannot take an extra one. And of course, Emma was already on that with an answer. Negative. Damon Clark. Okay. Moving on. Have you ever responded to a gruesome traffic collision scene? Yeah, I was actually, not only would I respond to them as my own, but lots of fatalities. It's part of the job. But I was also a collision photographer. So I would go and photograph bodies in cars and train suicides where people jump in front of trains, and I would photograph body parts. Yeah, I've gone to a lot of gruesome stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff and things. My tint is illegal in Ontario, but legal here. Can I not bring my car if I visit? If your car's tint is illegal by way of safety, it's more than 30% light blockage, you would not be legal to drive here. Just like you have to have insurance to drive in Ontario, your vehicle has to be deemed safe for the road. So if you have an illegal or unsafe vehicle here, then you cannot drive here. I got a speed camera ticket and I still can't find it in the system 1 month later. How do you know you got a ticket? Were you mailed a ticket or did you see a flash? Just because it flashed doesn't mean you were charged. So if you've got a ticket and you have an actual registered piece of mail there, or not registered mail, but a piece of mail that says you were issued the ticket and they can't find it in their system, hang on to that. Keep checking with them. They should be able to confirm in writing that that's been withdrawn or something like that, or in error. Okay. Michael says, question 1. It may be U.S. Hollywood thing, but can a detective use personal vehicle? Question 2, if I was a multimillionaire and in TPS, can I use a personal owned helicopter for police work? We're pretty picky about people using police vehicles for police stuff. We have unmarked vehicles for detectives, and they would be using those. And sometimes, if they're on call or working a special unit, they may be able to take those vehicles home. It may appear that they're personal vehicles, but we are not bad boys, and we don't drive our Porsches to our scenes. I don't think that's ever happened. Okay. At what age can kids not be in a car booster seat? That's Deacon Van Bar who wants to know. And the answer is, in Ontario, once a child is 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9" in height, that is the legal time that you no longer require a booster. That doesn't mean it's the safest time. I would suggest going to TrafficCop.ca. I have links to choosing and information from the, what is it called? The child, what the heck is it called? Hold on a second. I need to go to my own link page so I can get past this mental moment where I am not remembering. Child passenger, CPS AC, SIPSAC. That's what it's called. Great information on this website about when is it safe. There's a number of ways to check to make sure that you're making a decision, because even if they're 8 years old, they could be petite, and then that would mean that it's not a good idea to pull them out, because taking them out of that booster could give them the edge of being safer. If they're 4'9" but they're really light, could it be a problem? Check the guide. I would say the guide is more important. Age alone doesn't make for safety. And backseat until 14 is the suggestion. Are we allowed to have studded winter tires? This is for Ontario, Canada. At least the answer is. And the answer is depending on where you live in Ontario. If you're part of Northern Ontario, then you're allowed to have studded tires, a specific type of studded tire. And let me pull up where you are needing to be registered. Algoma, Cochrane, Kenora, Manitoulin, Nipissing, Parry Sound, Rainy River, Sudbury, Thunder Bay, and Temiskaming. Those are the places where you would have to reside or be registered to be able to have studded tires. If you're out of province and you're visiting us, you can visit us for up to 30 days with studded tires. Okay. If I don't receive a speed camera ticket in 3 weeks, am I in the clear? Didn't see any flash. I've seen flashes. Whether it's somebody else doing it next to me, like they ran it. I freaked out thinking that I was the cause of said flashes. I've never received one in the mail, so I don't know. Alex says, how about dwarfs? What are we talking about? Are we talking about people who are vertical, that aren't as tall, and what would be safe for them? I don't know. I mean, there's many people who get modified vehicles so that they can drive if they can't reach pedals, if they can't. So what's safest? It depends on a number of factors. And I, by no means am I someone who could comment on what equipment would be required to make it safe for every person. Okay. Are bylaw police officers considered peace officers? Not only are bylaw officers considered peace officers when they're in the, while they're actively in the role of doing their stuff, a mayor, the mayor of a town or a city is a peace officer when engaged in their duty as a mayor. So if they were assaulted, you'd charge someone for assault, peace officer. Someone who's a summons server is a peace officer. So that's not a Quebec, that's not a provincial thing. And it is a criminal code thing. I think it's criminal code. Bastard Sibling says, do police officers on duty have to pay for the 407? No, police cars are exempt. Police cars, fire engines, those vehicles do not get charged, which is good. It's about the only time you get to use it for free, or the only time. All right. I am sure I have missed a million of them, but it is 39 minutes after 11, and I have other stuff that need to happen today. One of those is get on the radio with AM 640. So, yeah. I apologize if I missed your stuff. It wasn't that I was trying to avoid you. We had an unusually high number of chat questions, which I love. It's great. I love when we have engagement, when we have lots of stuff going on. Nothing makes me happier at work. My family makes me happier at home. Anyway, I am going to say goodbye in a moment. I want to wish you a very happy, healthy, and wonderful weekend. I'll be back on Monday if all goes well. Keep tuned. I promote the show. I answer or announce the shows usually the night before. I never want to be so bold as to say Monday's going to happen on Friday, but on Sunday I'll post it. If you'd like to know, or if you'd like to know how to keep in touch, TrafficCop.ca has links to all of our stuff. Once I have this episode downloaded, which will happen momentarily after I go offline, I will then upload it so that you can download it as a podcast. Let's say you don't get a chance to miss us or catch us live, but you want to, you don't want to miss out. FOMO's the thing. You want to just keep in touch. Listen to all the shows. Maybe you want to listen to it while you're driving. You're looking for the perfect company for a long road trip. Go to TrafficCop.ca. Click on the link for the show. You can also go to ASKaTrafficCop.TrafficCop.ca. I don't think I made the AATC one. Anyway, we're talking about subdomains. Yeah, you can download it. You can listen to it. It's a thing. In the meantime, we'll play the traffic song as we prepare to say goodbye for another week or another day.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Okay, a couple of things. One, how do I convince friends that tinting front side windows is unsafe? Some people just need to learn for themselves. But illegal, you could tell them to watch the show, look at the videos we post, ask a question. Hey, we can even make them a video and say, hey, wake up. Send me their names. I can make them a video. Any way to speed up a 90-day license suspension from a DUI with breath thing on your car? No. The 90-day suspension is administrative. It happens roadside or after you're charged. The one that you can speed up is after you're convicted in court. After a year of not driving, the second year administrative can be skipped, essentially, if you are eligible and get into that whole system where you, get into installing the equipment in your char. You have to pay the monthly fees for the equipment, but where you're at in the process, 90-day, the roadside or the one that comes with your administrative suspension, no way to accelerate that. Now, I almost forgot to read the Yogi quote. Wait, we talked about this one? I did this one. Sorry, we talked about this at the beginning, an hour and 43 minutes ago. It gets late early out here. Apparently, I need a nap. But let's go into the dad joke that Akela sent. What's the difference between a vegetarian and a computer programmer? One is disgusted by a rack of lamb, the other by a lack of RAM. I like that. And I'm a computer guy. I was in the computer industry once upon a time, so I can totally appreciate that. Who even talks about RAM anymore? I'm using an underpowered laptop to fuel the show. RAM has nothing on me. But I also have my 128K motherboard, spare motherboard for my 128K Mac. Stuff and things. Dad joke. What do you call someone with no body and no nose? Nobody knows? I don't know if that's it's like, yeah, there's so many jokes. So many jokes. Not all of them hit top line. Corey left to go back to work, so we can, he won't be offended, hopefully, that I didn't love the joke. Anyway, that said, have a great day. Have a great weekend. Drive safe, drive sober, park legally, smile, because it looks good on you. Take care. Wrong button.